money is not a consideration. You know, we want it is the manager wants him. That they've actually done the work on looking at it. He's a great player. And again, is it 100? Is it 200? I don't know. They've got to get who you.
Is it going to be debt on top of this 200?
Right?
Is it going to be debt?
No. Again, should you not? Do you want me buying the players? Doesn't that ring a bell? Right?
Richard Arnold has spent time talking to the Manchester United fans. There's a lot to delve into. A lot was said. There's a number of video clips that have been linked and quotes, and of course accounts from the Manchester United fans that were part of the alleged protest they were going to have on the street or outside the home of Richard Arnold. But he has confirmed the Frenkie de Jong transfer. The money is there for it and the manager will be backed. He has condemned, or at least shown disapproval to the Glazers in the way they take dividends out of the football club. And there's also, as you've just heard there, a dig at Ed Woodward. There's a couple of digs at Ed Woodward and the previous regime, which should fill Manchester United fans with hope. And I'll tell you as to why. But I want your takes. I want your views on this morning. We're going to go through a series of the videos with you to get your take on them. We are also going to take your calls live to give you the chance to have your say. But this is something you don't see very often. Someone of this seniority at a football club sitting down and talking to the fans. I want your views. I want your opinions. Make sure you're smashing that like button. Let's go.
And that was we spent £1 billion on players over the last 10 years. We spent more than anyone in Europe. But I believe, I'm not thrilled where we are. Right, it doesn't sit easy. I worry. Right, we've got to get this sorted for the future. But what's happened is we fucking burned through cash on. You can't go and see. You can't go to our training ground and say, by the way, show me where that £1 billion is. It
Massive words there from Richard Arnold. £1 billion. We've burnt through cash and we've wasted £1 billion. For me, I'm trying not to seek confirmation bias in this, but it's something that for nearly a decade I've been talking about tirelessly online. It isn't that we don't spend money. It's that we've wasted the money. We've bought the wrong players. We've not backed the managers. We've changed direction far too often. The investment, listen, I don't want dividends being taken out. I want the debt paid off as well. But the way we invest, the strategy of the club has been so poor. To hear Richard Arnold say that he recognizes this is brilliant. It doesn't guarantee for a second that 100% he's going to do a better job. But he's put it out there now. The club have confirmed what most Man United fans that love the club have been talking about. It's not about manager in, manager out, players in, players out. It's how well are we run. That, for me, was one of the points in this video that stood out the most. It really, really did. We have hemorrhaged money. And in the space of a few minutes, the slamming of Ed Woodward is important. It tells us that they know where it went wrong. Now, they have to act on that. They have to do a better job. They have to run the club better. But that, for me, is a real... It could be for the club in either direction a gateway moment. They're either going to start running the club well or they've completely outed themselves, which means there should be no more excuses from fans to not protest and not focus on the real problem at Manchester United. There just shouldn't be now.
Yeah, I don't think we've done well with the money we spent historically. Yeah. But I'm not here to defend Joel or the Shells. He must speak for himself, right? I wanted to talk to you. You've taken the time and energy to come here to make your views, knowing I respect that. And that we've blown through an enormous amount of money. For this summer, the money that the manager and the director of football wants is there.
You hear that there? The manager, the money that the manager and the director of football want is there. He's already confirmed in the previous video, 100, 200. He was kind of being a little bit flippant with the amounts here. But as I've been telling Man United fans, especially our rivals, for weeks now, I recorded a bit of a rant, really, having a go at people for being impatient. United don't have no money. This is the debt's there, the interest. United have got money. It's an absolute fallacy that we don't have money. The only element of this video I was disappointed in yesterday was the fact that we've kind of revealed our hand that we have money now. I was liking the fact that we were basically pretending to be paupers. And Man United fans, instead of going actually, like this is the irony. We only ever believe the media when they put out stories that we want to believe. So when you want to believe that the club aren't going to spend and the media say we're not going to spend, you take it as gospel. And I think sometimes you have to kind of read between the lines. I didn't think we had barely any money, that Frenkie de Jong was going to lose up our entire budget. You know, what he has confirmed about Frenkie de Jong and the Frenkie de Jong promise that remains is very, very simple. There's a team of officials who are in Barcelona now to speak to Frenkie de Jong, his people in Barcelona. John Murtaugh was working tirelessly to get it done. Frenkie de Jong is highly likely to become a Manchester United player. And if you read the news reports in full, Ten Hag is asking that deal get done and then the remaining signings happen afterwards. Now, that isn't always the standard approach. But the reason he wants to get Frenkie de Jong first is because the team's main strategy is going to feed off Frenkie de Jong. So who you buy second, third, and fourth matters because you're convincing Frenkie de Jong that you're building a team around him. You can't buy all the players to complement Frenkie de Jong and get the best out of him if he hasn't agreed to come. You need to get that in play, or you don't get the deal done, as it were. Very positive in that space. Let's take a look at some of your comments here. Great show, T. I like the way you cover stuff and discreet. Listen, it's just not everything. Listen, it's just an opinion. I can't believe people thought that Man United were going to have no money this year. Very, very weird take. Man United are not the only club like that. Chelsea are the same now. Makes a change to see someone trying to engage with the fans. Nice to see someone at the club see what the fan base has seen. Yeah, look, one of the guys that was at the meet, as it were, has kind of said he felt like it was a little bit rehearsed. He didn't necessarily, they weren't really buying into what he was saying. And I get that. I want to read out these. I mean, he says it in some of the videos as things come up that will play for you. But he kind of sort of alludes to the fact that you know, we shouldn't be damaging the sponsors. Damaging the sponsors makes it harder for him to do his job. There's less money. And what I find really intriguing about it is this. I actually agree with Richard Arnold, but hear me out. If we lose the club 20 million here, if we lose the club 50 million there and then stop, you're actually doing more good than bad. Sorry, more bad than good. Because you're taking money away in the short term, but it isn't enough to make the Glazers leave or change. What you actually need to do, and for me, this is an all or nothing scenario. And I very rarely do that kind of binary, polarized all or nothing. You either completely destroy the cash flow into the football club by damaging all sponsors and pulling all your money away, as a certain someone has been saying, or you don't do it at all. I don't think you can do this in between. The in between is going to leave us in a precarious position. The Glazers will probably stay, but there will be less money to spend on the team. I think Richard Arnold has been very kind of forthright in that, as it were. But let's take a little bit more of a look at what he's got to say. Then I'm going to share the link for you to phone him.
Future for investing in a new stadium and that sort of stuff, to do a latest and greatest £250 million training ground. Okay, we've got to do something. We've got to get investors in. And again, you know, I need that to do what I want for the club. Right? I've got to have more cash than we have now, because a new stadium, no stadium and no club in the world has the money to do a new stadium without getting it from someone. No one generates that. You either borrow it or someone invests it, right? And so
Spurs done a mortgage, 800 million.
Spurs got £1 billion mortgage, right? So the money's got to come from somewhere, and you may not like our current owners. Okay, I can't help that. But
it's really important what he says there. You don't like the owners. I can't help that. And this is the one thing I've been saying to people for a long time. I think when you're trying to improve, man, and you've got to remember this. We need people to get the best out of what we've got. Him sitting there slagging the Glazers off all the time is just going to make them sack him. We keep moaning that we don't want yes men. But I'm telling you this now from someone that worked in a corporate industry for many, many years. It's political and you have to play the game. If you were too cutthroat, if you were too harsh, if you just take the fan side and slam what they're doing, they move you on, and they eventually will bring someone in that will toe the party line. What you need is someone. There's an expression my dad used to use when I was younger. What you need is somebody on the inside of the tent spitting out, than on the outside of the tent spitting in. And that's what Manchester United need here with someone like Richard Arnold. We really, really do. A comment here says, I'm confused why they would need to wait for De Jong. Your project should not depend on a player and should be philosophy multiple players can fit. Well, it will be, but Frenkie de Jong is the person the manager wants. So if he can't get him, we'll move on to another player. But of course, you look at it from a striker point of view. Man United couldn't get Darwin Núñez. It was a main target. Liverpool got him. He rejected us. So instead of just going, right, we'll get a different striker, we're looking to improve other areas of the pitch. It's about going after your number one targets, maybe your number two targets. And if you can't get them, you wait. You have to be patient. Man United have not been patient. We've missed out on big targets in the past, and we've ended up shopping down the bargain basement for people, overpaying for quality that isn't quite there. That's why it's very important, my friend. That is why it's very, very important. Respect to Arnold, though, for coming out and showing his face. Woodward would not have done this ever. He might not like what Arnold said, but we have to respect the balls to come out. And listen, I've listened to him speak. If he's rehearsed that, then he deserves the money he's earning, because I thought it came across as pretty damn genuine. It did. But I want to take a little look here at this. This was him talking about the sponsors, and then we're going to go to your calls, people.
In every game, there's a couple of things. One, protest. Okay, protest to me. It's my job. I should take it. Right? Protest to the owners. The sponsors have put money into our club. They shouldn't get punished. Right? What have they done wrong? Right? They put money in to help the club.
You hear what he said there. Why should sponsors be damaged? Listen to the response to this. This is key.
Yeah. Our logic is, if they pull out, it put pressure on Glazers.
I think. But again,
it's a vicious circle. I understand that.
No, but it's also.
I get the logic here. The gentleman from 58, I get it. It will, and this is what I've been, spouting a long time, and I agree with him. It will put pressure on the Glazers, but you have to go full hog. It's every sponsor. It's the program, the megastore. Stop buying shirts. Don't renew tickets. You have to take all monies away. Doing little bits, I understand it. And listen, the lads should be proud of themselves for what they've done. 100% proud of themselves. But it's an all or nothing. For me, it really is an all or nothing. But you can see that it's got to the club. It's got under their skin. It really, really has.
Right, because you know what it was like in 2005, right? You know what it was like, and the pressure put on the owners not to buy the club. They did, right? They bought the club anyway. So if you want to think of them that way, they're rock hard. They don't care. But it's not that they don't care. They care is the wrong word. But they're not frightened of people, right? Yeah. And so, okay. So does.
When you look how they are with the clubs in America, though, it's like they treat them totally different to how they are running this club.
And this is the bit where.
But I think that point makes total and utter sense. And of course, the Glazers aren't scared, because what we're not doing to the Glazers is actually damaging them financially. Man United fans have always the elephant's always been in the room, but everybody's missed this big bright pink elephant. The Glazers only care about money, they say. The Glazers only care about money, they say. Well, then take their money away from them. People that care about money are very easy to control, very easy manipulated. You take the money away, you damage the asset. But to damage the asset of Man United, it probably will affect what happens on the pitch for a period of time. I don't think you can. It's almost like you can't support us and have a winning team, but equally damage the club enough to make the Glazers sell. It's an all or nothing situation. And it's so hard. And I get that it's hard, because everybody wants to see their team be successful. Everybody wants to cheer the boys on, cheer the women's team on, cheer the kids on. I want to do that as well. But listen, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. I'm going to share the link for you to phone in now and have your say. Arnold speaking out, was it PR? Was it lip service? Is this a good thing for the club to hear this? The De Jong situation, the money being confirmed is there. And as I said, I'm not going to try here and sit here and do the whole, I told you I was right. But I was. Of course, there was money at the football club. Of course, we're going to try and bring in players. They're working hard. Remember what we said? I said in last night's show. And it's not that I'm right. It's just look at the facts. It's not I'm not right. The facts are there. That's what I'm trying to say to you. It's like me saying gravity exists. I'm not saying I'm right about gravity. I'm saying gravity just exists. Man United installed this new regime 5-6 weeks ago. It's starting flat-footed from the beginning. Of course, it's going to take time for Manchester United to be able to get themselves to where we want to be. But in case you're just tuning in, I also want to play for you this video here as well. This is what was said. This was the first video about Frenkie de Jong. Take a little listen.
And again, money is not a consideration in who we want. It is the
money is not a consideration in who we want. Let's hold the club to account for this.
The manager wants him. That they've actually done the work on looking at it. He's a great player.
And see that bit there, the due diligence. You that have been watching the Terrace, the guys that have been watching the Terrace for a long time, you'll be like, aha, you know why I'm saying that. The due diligence. It's not about the money you spend. It's about, does that player fit technically? Do they fit the philosophy? And do they have the mindset and the behavioral patterns to give you what you want? Are they the right kind of man to get you need all those three things. Of course, the fitness element comes into it as well. Those 4 areas: technical ability. Do they fit the philosophy? Do they have the right mentality, behavior, attitude? And what is their physique like, their fitness levels, their injury records? Those 4 things, there should be intensive studies done. To see the final part here. Now, this bit is key.
Is it 100? Is it 200? I don't know. They've got to get who you fucking
going to be dead on top of this 200?
Right?
Is it going to be dead?
No. Again, should you not? Do you want me buying the players? Doesn't that ring?
Do you want me buying the players? And this is another big thing. This is why I'm saying to Man United fans, please stay calm. We've been asking for that for ages. I'm not guaranteeing, because I can't, that's going to happen. That Myrtle, Fletcher, and the new football people doing it are going to do a better job. But it's the first time it's happened. It's the first time in 9 years we've got football people doing the football work. Give it a little bit of time to marinate, a little bit of time to cook, a little bit of time. Let's see the fruits of the labor before we judge it. We are doing it differently. Don't be dragged in by the negative Nellies. Don't be dragged in by the people that just want to be negative all the time. Of course, if you want to be and you want to come on and have your say, you're welcome on the Terrace, because there's no echo chambers here. You don't have to agree with my opinions, but I'm going to share the link now in the live comment section because I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking and feeling and saying. Please make sure that like button is being smashed for us, though, right about now. Andrew here says, Richard Arnold is asking for a clean slate. I think I've heard enough to give him a chance. And I think that's what's key here. It's most people, a lot of people have been cleared out. A lot of people have moved on. Some, we have to be very, very honest, not everybody's left the club in the last few months because they've done a bad job. Some have been promoted. Some have been given great opportunities elsewhere because they've been good at what it is they do. But it's very, very important to remember that this is a new group of people running the football element of the club now. So for me, it's a case of, well, I'm just going to give them that little bit of time just to see what they're doing. There's no point in stressing over it at this moment in time, as far as I'm concerned. Terry took a backhander from the Glazers for PR. Well, what I'm doing right now is the complete opposite to PR for the Glazers. If you actually listen to what I've said, is that if we're going to take the money away, we go all in. Like a certain someone sitting in this room I'm in right now has done £0, 0 pennies. I touched none of the sponsors of the football club, nothing. If everybody did that, trust me, that Glazers would sell. I believe that in my bones. Secondly, what I've said on today's show is this. I'm giving the football people, the Myrtles, the Fletchers, the O'Boyles, Ten Hag, his team, a clean slate to how they run the club of them. The Glazers, for me, I've still got my foot metaphorically on their neck. They're promising the money. They're saying it's there. They're saying they're going to let the football people now make the footballing decisions. Let's hold them to account. But at least let the new people work to do their jobs first. That's my point. Zero Glazer PR. I'm putting more pressure on them than anyone else on socials. Trust me. Or at least as much. You're spot on, Terry. Their protests have stopped. If protesters stop buying tickets to the games and go into the shop, they would really want the owners out, but they won't because they will lose their season tickets for good. And Danielle, look, I think there's a part of that with some. I spoke to some Man United fans who literally said, I'm scared to give up my season ticket in case I never get it back. So, and do you know what I respect about that? I respect people that are honest. What I don't like is the BS excuse of, oh, if I don't give my, if I give my ticket up, somebody else will spend it. Somebody else will get it. Yeah, but you're doing your part. Do you know what I mean? It's like me saying, oh, listen, I might as well vote for Boris Johnson because if I don't, somebody else will probably get elected anyway. But I can stand there morally and say, I didn't vote for this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can still do your, there's no point me recycling because global warming ain't going to change. Well, but I've done my bit. You know, that kind of attitude, yeah, I don't buy it myself. I'm not buying into it personally. Terry, who was he talking to? So it was a bunch of United fans, part of the 58 58 group, who have been, protesting and really putting pressure upon the Glazers to sort of move on. They filmed the footage and put it out. A lot of people have kind of got at them for putting the footage out. I understand why. They feel, trust me, he knew he was being recorded as well, by the way. And that's why I was quite impressed. I think he stayed cool, calm, collected, spoke candidly. He wasn't, what I loved about what he said, and this is where I will praise him, zero corporate jargon. It was just talking person to person, man to man, boom. I thought that element was good to me. Terry, I wish you was there. What questions would you have asked him? Do you know what? I thought the questions that the gentleman put back to him were very, very good. I would have probably pushed a bit more around who the leaks were. I would have asked questions around what I really would have asked questions about is, are you going to build a club philosophy that transcends beyond Erik ten Hag? So you might want to use his template and build something, but would we go from Ten Hag to Diego Simeone? Because I feel like that's where the problem has been. I would have posed all the things to him that I've been saying to you guys on streams for many, many years. But I thought the guys really questioned him well. I would have asked whether there's any plans to pay the debt off. I know he mentioned around the dividends. He did speak about the dividends, because I'm going to look for the comments. I don't know if that was actually caught on camera, but I want to just search that because I believe he mentioned it on here. He said here, these are his words. He says the Glazers shouldn't be taking dividends out of the club. So, he knows some of the things they're not doing is right, but I would have asked questions around, are they going to try and pay the debt down? Do you think, have they got any desires to sell the club? I would have asked those questions, at least to get it on record what the official response is, if that makes sense. Terry, in your opinion, will we get a deal done before United? Are you a Chelsea fan? I don't know. Oh, no, sorry. Before United goes away on tour. I would think so. I think Frenkie de Jong is very close. I think Frenkie de Jong is very, very close to happening. I keep saying this in my streams about it. People that say like it's not going to happen or they're playing it down, I don't really get their angle. It is more than on. It really, really is. There we go. Right, let's get some calls on. Pav's going to be on the show with me right now to have his say this morning. If you want to call in, feel free to. The link is pinned to our live comment section. It's also there on Facebook. Likewise on the stream this morning. About 160. That's not great, guys. Let's get that up a little bit now. 275 on Facebook, which is amazing. Get the like button smashed. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace today. I want you to come on and have your say. By the way, a big happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I hope you're having good starts to your day. My kids, maybe a nice little balloon thing. Jackson's already broke it. He's very destructive like that, my boy. But there we go. Pav's on the show with me now to have his say on this subject matter. What are you saying, mate?
Oh, man, that video, that whole thing yesterday wasn't expected. First of all, big up to Arnold for actually meeting them, because no one's really ever done that with the fans unless it's one of them fan forums. And even then, they'll send over some ambassador to, have a little chat with the people who are there. But some people are annoyed with the group that went there. You have to understand, they went there to protest out his house. After what happened to Woodward's house, he wasn't going to stand there and let people just turn up to his house. He went and met them. He took security, and he knew he was being recorded because he took a picture with them while they're all sitting down. So he knows exactly that all of this was going to go out on social media. He's not stupid. People talking about, he's going to get the sack now. He's not getting the sack. I still think of some of it's PR, but some of the questions have kind of been answered. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've tweeted out Arnold out. I've tweeted Berta out. And I've tweeted Glazer out because I'm not happy with how we ended our season, the way that the whole season went, and how we're dealing with the transfer market at the moment, where some of our targets are going to other clubs, and like the amount of time we're spending on certain deals, stories about budgets and all this. But I'm still like 50-50 with everything that's been said. Some of it I'll believe, some of it I just think he's saying it to kind of please.
You there, mate? Pav, you gone? Look, I can't be all right. He might be back in a second. I understand where Pav's coming from. Is he just saying this to appease people? Well, if he is, it's on record now. This is the thing. You've got it on record what you've promised and you hold people to account. This is why it's win-win. You can think it's PR, but you've said it. And of course, there's an element of that there. Of course, he's going to say things in a certain way. Of course, he knew he was being recorded. If you have a job at the level of Richard Arnold, the age that he is, what is he like? He looks like he's in his like late mid 40s. You know you're going to get recorded in this day and age. No matter where you go, the phones are out there. You know you're being recorded. But if he says these things now, and there isn't the money there, if he says these things and Pav, if you're there, mate, feel free to jump back in. I don't know if you are or not. But your mic just don't seem to be working. But if we only spend 80-90 million pound this summer, if there isn't any money there, if we don't do the things he's promising, then we hold them to account. That's why it's win-win. This is not a negative for Man United that he's done this for me. And I totally get the skepticism. I'm skeptical. I just have an approach in life. I go, okay, you've said it. I'm going to step back and see what you do now. That's just more my way than being militant about. The Glazers don't get that respect from me, but the people doing their day jobs, I'm going to be a bit more lenient with. Pav, are you there, mate? I'm going to remove you. Try call back in, mate, and have your say. I'm not too sure why that isn't working from yourself. It just seems to cut off strangely, but there we go. You will never see Liverpool and City doing anything like this. It's time to start acting like a football club rather than a commercial social experiment. I agree. I mean, you may see this if those clubs have run poorly for the past decade in the social media era. You've got to remember now, Liverpool haven't really been bad. Yes, you had the Hicks and Gillette and Hodgson was sort of like at the beginning stage of social media, but it wasn't as potent as it is now, if that makes sense. City and Liverpool have not been bad or not gone through terrible patches in the social media era. The social media era has changed. The irony is, and I know that there was a space last night that KJ was in, Danny Devil in the details as well, where one of the lads who was there yesterday spoke, and he kind of said that he doesn't have an issue with fan cameras, but a lot of people involved in this group that filmed this don't really like fan cameras and whatnot. And I understand that not everyone's going to say what you like, but the irony in it is it's the platforms that have been made popular for football chat by content creators is exactly the reason why you're getting people like Richard Arnold coming out and speaking, how you're able to get these messages out. Because if this was 15, 20 years ago, he'd have said it to 4 or 5 people in a room and then it would become stories and hearsay, Chinese whispers and things would be changed as they move along. Now that can't happen on record. Social media, this is where social media does its business. Simple as that. The club is a mess. Woodward put this nightmare together to enrich the Glazers. The club was hijacked by these people. A giant Ponzi scam is what John has got to say here. Yes, make sure you're smashing that like button this morning, my people. Next on the show, I'm going to go to... who am I going to speak to on the show about this next? We're going to get Trebs on the show to have you say. What are you saying, Trebs?
What's going on, Mr. Terry? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. What do you make of this, my friend?
It's been a long time, man, since I spoke to you. Listen, I'm not gonna fall for this trick. I know where I stand with this club. I've rang you numerous times years ago, and I've always said, so long as these barbarians are in charge, we're not winning no single trophy, and we're not challenging for big trophies. Jose got sacked. I've been very harsh on him. I came down and apologized. Oli, even though he hasn't reached his expectation, he wasn't that caliber of manager. And now we got someone, Erik ten Hag, who I think he could be a successor if he was actually given the tools, etc., etc. But I just think this is a game that these guys want to play, and I'm telling you, we can't bullshit a bullshitter, innit? You know what I mean? We can't play. The only real reason, I know people are saying this to me yesterday, that's not why they said this to me, that the only reason why they obviously, Richard Arnold actually approached them is because they don't want these guys to go to his house and that, you know what I mean? So repeat what they done to Woodward. And I'm not falling for this, innit? Yeah? We are going to spend money. I'm not saying United ain't going to spend money. It's not about, I'm not going to say in the night United don't spend money. We do spend money, but we just don't spend it correctly. That's the difference, Terry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get that. I do get that point, and I understand you being skeptical, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. For me, it's just a case of, or they've said they're doing it differently now. And it is football people that have got football backgrounds that are now doing the negotiations, that are now managing these strategies. He didn't say it word for word, but he pointed out that, do you want me out there doing it like Woodward used to do? So we're taking a different approach. Let's see what happens. Remember, we have been successful, very successful. You know, the second greatest Premier League team of all time was created under the Glazers when David Gill...
No. Terry. Can I just cut you off? I'm with KJ. I love KJ, your show. I never say we were successful under the Glazers. In spite of the Glazers, we were successful because we had Sir Alex Ferguson. I can't say that. I'm not giving them...
But that's my point. If you've got the right people running your club, now we may never get to that level of success because you need someone of Fergie's managerial quality. Even as bad as the Glazers are, if we had spent this £1 billion that Arnold speaks about correctly, had a philosophy, bought the right people, held high standards in that dressing room, we would have won more trophies in the last 9 years. We've spent the money. But that doesn't mean that I think I'm happy with dividends being taken, the debt growing. But we can be successful with the Glazers here as long as we're run right. And that's why I'm glad that Arnold's come out, because he's essentially, now that he's flagged to the mast, said what he's going to do. He can't get away from it now. And we've got it on record. Do you get what I mean? There's no bullshitting anymore. You've said it. Let's get it done. So for me, I understand your point, but I think he's put himself in a position now where they can't wriggle out of it. You know, he's put himself on the hook, and we're going to cast him out to sea. A great call, my friend. Thanks for coming on and having your say. I really appreciate it. No worries, brother. Take care, my guy. Thank you. Feel free to phone in whatever your thoughts and feelings are on this. You won't be shot down. Well, you might if you come for me, but no, only joking. Terry, why are you so biased against the Glazers who have a good record at managing Man United? I wish there was a league for effective club owners. The Glazers would be amongst the top. When they had David Gill and Fergie running the club, we were winning great trophies. But due to inflation, we now owe more debt than when they took over. Over £1 billion has been taken out of the club through dividends and interest payments. The stadium's falling apart. The training ground is ranked like something like 27th out of all UK training facilities. We haven't challenged for a league title in 9 years. So that's, if you want to know why I'm biased towards the Glazers, my friend, that is what it is there. I'm not too sure what your angle is on defending them, but they've allowed this club to be run like crap for 9 years. Absolutely have. Pav's back with us now to finish what he was saying.
Oh, yeah, sorry, man. Someone was ringing me, so it just cut my mic off completely.
Okay.
Yeah, so the stuff I was saying about some of it being PR, there was like quotes about where they talked about new stadium or training ground, and they were saying we need investors and stuff like that. And you're asking for investors, but your owners are constantly taking out dividends. So why would someone want to invest? Like the Glazers need to pull out their own money, just like other owners do, and completely change that training ground, fix some of that stadium. If you're going to build a new stadium, do what Tottenham have done, take out a loan and pay it off. Like, why should you have to rely on other people to come and fund you when you're doing?
In fairness, billionaires will never. Everybody borrows the money or gets investors to build new stadiums. What Spurs have done is they've borrowed the money from a bank, but when they sell the naming rights, they will be paying that debt off with it. Does that make sense? So, what Manchester United may end up being, I was going to mute you, there's a bit of background noise. What Man United would look to. This is where Man United fans have got to realise it's to build a new stadium will cost. How much? £1 billion? Something along those lines to build a new stadium in this current climate. To afford that, the Glazers will not spend their own money. So you need an investor. But the investor wants their money back, which means you'll need to sell the naming rights to the stadium. So it's highly likely if we build a new stadium, it won't be called Old Trafford. It will be called the Barclays Arena. You know, the HSBC Stadium. That's the thing I would say to Man United fans. Like, if the Glazers stay, there's going to be compromises. Unless you have a multi-billionaire owner like a sheikh who's willing to spend his own money because the country he's from is going to keep producing hundreds of millions of pounds a year for him just because of their natural resource. Unless you have an owner like that, it's always going to come through investment and sponsorships. But at the same time, we have fans that don't want investors or sponsorship. So you then become between a rock and a hard place, if that makes sense, Pav.
Yeah, just before I get off, I want to ask you just a question, like your opinion on it. In one of his quotes, they were talking about, what was it? The sponsors. You know, our sponsors. So they said you're not helping us by attacking the sponsors. Now, do you think that he's saying that for the Glazers' sake, or is it the fact that the fan groups and obviously the supporter groups are actually making an effect against these sponsors? Because I don't buy that, where he's saying you lot attacking our sponsors is damaging the club, like the relationships with them. Do you think? What's your take on that?
I said it earlier in the stream. You might not have been tuning in. That, of course, I'll repeat and answer your question, mate. So for me, it's very simple. If you damage in the short term, he's absolutely spot on, because the Glazers, we're not doing enough to make the Glazers sell. Okay, so if we lose the club £80 million of revenue, but the Glazers don't sell, we're in a worse position. We don't improve. We've got less money to spend. Less sponsors want to get involved because they might be attacked next. But the Glazers are still here. So what have we actually achieved? Nothing. Like zero. They're still taking their dividends. They're still, listen, and trust me, when we sign a few players and we start the season, that share price is at an all-time low is going to skyrocket. Don't be surprised right now if the Glazers aren't buying up lots of shares again at the lowest rate in like years. And when it skyrockets, they'll sell and make more money out of it. They're laughing. If you're going to damage sponsors and pull money away, it has to be every penny, every sponsor, season tickets, shirt sales, boycott the mega store, whatever it is. If you do that, instead of queuing up round the corner when we sign Ronaldo to do record shirt sale numbers for the club, then you'll make a change. Then the Glazers would be forced into changing what they do or selling, in my opinion. But if you just do one sponsor and cost the club £50 million, you're just damaging the team. Does that make sense? It's all or nothing for me.
Yeah, I understand. So what you're saying is doing what they're doing now currently is probably not going to force the Glazers to sell, but it's the same stuff that we say all the time. Stop turning up to games and buying season tickets. But that's never going to happen though, is it? Because like this year, the season tickets were sold out straight away. As soon as I had an email, I wasn't going to get one anyway, but I've had the emails and everything, and they're doing all these other things where you can get season tickets just for cup games and all that stuff. But that's one issue that this club's always going to have. I think there's too many divisions where the whole set of season ticket holders and stuff like that, they're not going to give up their tickets, and I think it's going to be hard to try and get new owners.
So I agree. So if we're not going to do that, then the next. So the next stage from that then is to get fully behind. If you're not going to pull your money, you actually need to get fully behind them. And because again, if you're in this in between, it doesn't help anybody. So for me, right now, this second, I'm behind Richard Arnold. I'm behind John Murtaugh. I'm not behind the Glazers, not behind the owners, but I'm behind the people now running the club because they're telling us they're going to do it different. So I'm going to be relaxed and supportive of what they're doing and wait to see the fruits of that labor. If it goes wrong, then I'll be on them. Where I'll come back to the Glazers is, should these guys foul for 3 or 4 windows, 2 or 3 windows, we go backwards again, but they keep them in their positions, then you go on the Glazers. Because people say, well, it's not the Glazers' fault Richard Arnold's bad. Well, it's their fault if they keep him employed like they did. Woodward keeping his job for 9 years was the Glazers failing. And that's what we need to put the pressure on. Pav, top man for coming on and having your say. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So when I say support the club, I don't mean getting behind the Glazers because they don't deserve that respect right now as far as I'm concerned. But if you're not willing to pull your money away, therefore, I think you've got to give patience to the people that are in charge and running things day to day is what I mean, not the owners of the football clubs. I want to clarify what I meant about that. Let's look at some more of these comments here. Love your content. Been following before Fan Park Live. Now our valuation is 3.2 billion. So John Radcliffe may very well be interested, but the Glazers wanted 5 billion before. Well, the Glazers want 5 billion because they're only interested in money. It's as simple as that. The crazy thing is, though, if I was running the club, I would sell it to the Glazers this way. If we invest and do this right and start winning again, you'll get your 5 billion valuation. There's no doubt. Shane here with a super chat says it's great that he has spoken to the fans, but he let everyone know the club has 200 million to spend, and that's not good. That's the bit I agree with Shane. That's the one element. I'm like, bro, why did you say it? But that's the thing sometimes. And I think this is my word to fans. I know we want answers, but sometimes, listen, actually, it's not the fans' fault. Let me backtrack all of that. Fans want answers because they're angry, they're worried, they're concerned. One thing I love that Liverpool fans do is they just, we've got the money. Don't worry. I don't care if you all think we're broke. The money's there. They just don't flaunt how much money they've got. Does that make sense? And we've had to do it again. It's a worry for me. I want us to save money on every transfer. I want us to get the best value for players that we sell, because then there's more money to spend hopefully in the right areas. So yeah, I totally get you there, Shane. I think you make a great point there, my friend. By the way, people, make sure that like button is being smashed this morning. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well and turning on the bell notification button. Very, very important to us that you do that. Next on the show, we're going to get Mohammed on to have you say, what you saying, Mohammed? Oh, he disappeared. So instead of Mohammed, we're going to go to Gotham. What you saying?
Hi, Terry.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for your tweet and thanks for your show, man. I'm filtering out, the transfer news from your side. I'm in India here, so regularly following you, and even it's afternoon time too.
Lovely, lovely. What do you want to say, my friend? Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it. What do you want to say?
I just want to throw something a dark opinion here. I don't want Frenkie de Jong.
Why?
One reason, this is kind of like the Pogba signing that we did few years ago. That one player has all the abilities. The player the manager wants 80 million, high wages. It's kind of repeating, and we also need someone to unlock him. Number 6. People think it's Garner or Sangare. It's based on the name. So I don't want a repeat of that. I want a player with that attributes, but I don't want Frenkie de Jong. I will accept him if the manager wants him. Do you see what I mean? I don't want any player. I want gems like Vieira.
I hear
out of nowhere.
I hear where you're coming from. But the reason that Frenkie de Jong is going to cost so much money is in the salary is because he's already one of the best midfield players in the world. I am shocked. Barcelona are making one of the biggest mistakes by moving him on. And I think Barcelona, they want to bring Kessie in, but they want to go with the Gavi and Pedri thing. They're from the academy. It's a different feeling. They're making, in my opinion, a very, very, very big mistake in that approach. I really do think they're making a big mistake in doing that. But I respect that opinion, my friend. You don't want Frenkie de Jong. Thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Viewers, what do you think? Frenkie de Jong, would you say no to him? Do you think, I have seen that notion put around social media that he's going to cost too much, that the salary is going to be too high. It's the same mistake as Paul Pogba. We need someone to, you do realize this unlock. I don't know who created this unlocking thing. You do realize everybody needs players to help unlock them. It's called a team sport. You know, you put Lionel Messi in the Leyton Orient team, he would not have scored and assisted as many goals as he did at Barcelona. He wouldn't have been as good. He would have still been brilliant, would have dribbled well and done everything else. But the people passing the ball to him, the people finding him in space, the people that he was threading the balls into wouldn't be making the runs. They wouldn't have the vision. They wouldn't have the touch. If they did, they wouldn't be playing for Leyton Orient. It's team sport. The team element is very, very key, in my opinion. Next on the show, KC is here. What are you saying, KC?
Yeah, I honestly don't know where you guys are getting this one of the best midfielder in the world grab from. I mean, the guy is overhyped as hell. Trust me on this. I've suffered for him week in, week out. He hasn't performed in a single El Clasico, flopped in every single Champions League game. But I don't think he's even top 15 midfielders. You are not a good midfielder when an 18-year-old Pedri performs better than you. We bought him. Listen. We bought him to replace Busquets. I can tell you his weaknesses. He doesn't have that diagonal pass in him. The good thing about him is that he's press resistant. So I think that's why Ten Hag wants him. Maybe he might be able to pass the ball to Bruno. I think that's the only way I can see him fit in your system. But unfortunately, Bruno Fernandes, I think, is the worst midfielder in the world. So
KC, I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much indeed. I would say this. I would say this about, thank you for all the support you give the channel as well, by the way. I would say this about Frenkie de Jong. It's very obvious when people start losing a player, they're suddenly a bad player. Frenkie de Jong is top class. The way he's going to be utilized by Ten, I think two things at Barca. He's not been utilized in the right position, the same as what they did with Philippe Coutinho. They didn't play him right. Secondly, Barcelona have been absolutely dog for the past few years. The way that club has been run, it's become a shambles and a shadow of itself. Frenkie de Jong has just been part of that problem because the club's been a problem. And obviously they're looking for a fresh state, and they're looking to move on and looking to do something new. And that's actually a good thing. It's one of the mistakes that Manchester United made. One of the mistakes Manchester United made when we had sort of when we changed direction and we get a new manager in, we didn't make any what you would call sacrificial sales, where you're like, he's a good player, but he's kind of synonymous with the failures. So I think Frenkie de Jong has become kind of attacked almost by Barca fans as, he's one of the reasons why we've gone backwards. No, it's just how you've been run, the standards of the club, you know, the operation around things. But people don't really like to go at their club. They like to blame grab low-hanging fruit, essentially. But Casey, I appreciate you coming on and having your say. Ray's on the show next. What you saying, my friend?
Yeah, morning, Terry. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. What's your thoughts on what Richard Arnold had to say?
Good on him. I think, you know, a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's a PS stop. But I think it's good on him because, you know, he's showing you that there is a plan. And the thing about it, well, I'm not a Glazer guy, but the thing what annoys me with Manchester United fans is that we lack patience in this thing. You know, when Woodward came in, there was no direction. We were freestyling for 9 years under this guy. You know, this season you can see United are putting people into place. And Arnold already said he's delegating football responses to football people. And he also said to the fans, what, do you want me to sign players? So, you know, we just have to wait and see what's going to happen with these changes. And then we make judges on what Arnold and Murta and all these guys are doing. Because, you know, as I've been saying for years, I hated Woodward. The biggest mistake the Glazers have made was keeping Woodward there for 9 years freestyling, because he never had a plan. You know, we never had a plan going into the transfer window. We never had a plan when we had managers. I know people say, oh, Van Gaal was boring, but the guy won the FA Cup, sacked him. Then we didn't build a team. Jose Mourinho won 2 trophies, sacked him. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reached a final, sacked him. This year, there is a little bit of a plan going on. Now, we need to wait and we need to take it easy, breathe down. These were going to take a long time because, you know, this is not FIFA. You can't just go in and see a cutscene. You know, these things, you have to sit down with these guys for 3 months, maybe 2 or 3, 4 or 5 weeks to get everything under control. So what Arnold said to these fellas is 100% business, football business, not business commercially, football business. You have to wait and see. And we have got the money to spend because we are gonna sign people, but it's going to just take a while. That's what I gotta say.
Listen, I hear what you're saying there, mate. Great words, Ray, and we'll chat to you again soon. Top man. Big word. Listen, Ray's right there about strategy. Strategy is so important when it comes to these situations. I just don't think you can get away from it. If you're just new to tuning in, here is what Richard Arnold had to say. One of the biggest points he made around the Frenkie de Jong situation.
Money is not a consideration in who we want. It is the manager wants him. That they've actually done the work on looking at it. He's a great player. And again, is it 100? Is it 200? I don't know. They've got to get who you fucking want. Is he going to be down on top of this 200? Right? Is he going to be down? No. Again, should you not? Do you want me buying the players?
There we go. That's what he had to say. We're going to take some more of your calls now. We're going to go next to. We're going to go to here. Jared L is coming on the show. What are you saying, my friend? Jared's not there. We'll try someone else. We'll go to Ty. I think it's pronounced Ty or Tay. Sorry, Tay. How you doing?
It was good, Terry. Yeah, it's Tay.
Tay, sorry, my friend. What's your take on this? Some people are not buying it. Some people think it's a good thing that he's done it. Where do you stand with what Richard Arnold had to say yesterday to Man United fans?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it looks staged at the same time, because why would he not think that he's going to be recorded? I think that's a bit strange. But at the same time, he didn't really give any information. Everyone's screaming about the budget, but he said 100, 200, what is it? He didn't really say what the budget was. So I don't really see a problem there. Obviously, they're going to have 100 or 200 million, like in between that. They're not going to have less than that. So I think there ain't no problem there, really. On the other hand, if it wasn't staged, I think the Man United fans who recorded him have kind of like not much integrity. Do you get what I'm saying? It's they've kind of just released information, and he's had a man-to-man, one-to-one conversation with them, and he's had trust with them to sit down and talk to them about the club and internal information, and they've kind of just leaked it all out, and they're meant to care about the club as well. So it's kind of strange. I get why they've done it, because they're frustrated, and I've been a Man United fan since I was like 3 years old. So I've been through all the times when when Rooney done his madness, like, all these things happen, and yeah, I've been frustrated too, but we have to be patient. I think we have to be patient, see what they're gonna do, like the last caller said, because I think we're putting too much judgment on the guy. We don't know anything about him or what he's gonna do, so we have to see what happens.
Mate, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's just it's a wait and see. Like he's alluded to, the Glazers aren't going to sell, and the fans aren't doing enough to force them. That's not a dig at people that have done things. There's not enough people doing stuff for it really to take effect. As we know, the Ronaldo signing should stand out in people's minds. We did record shirt sales as a football club that weekend. We've never sold so many football shirts as we did that weekend. Right? Yeah. That is the long and the short of it. And that's because people love the club for all different reasons. So they're almost impossible to get rid of because people won't cut the cord, as it were. So therefore, you've got to have people running the club well. This group now are saying we're going to do it differently to how Woodward and Matt Judge were doing things. So I'm willing, because what other choice have I got, to give them a little bit of time. It's not good for my health to stress every single moment, every single day about what they're saying and doing. One of the biggest things I laughed about is how people thought we were going to have no money this year. Yeah. Like it was just, why are you all not? Again, I ranted about it yesterday, and I was like, but we're now saying and behaving how you've been begging Woodward to behave, and you're moaning about it. And I do feel with some Man United fans, I feel they've become. I think it's a little bit scientific, but I think that the releasing of the endorphins and the adrenaline, and what's that drug that's in your head when you get a bit of a buzz on? Is it it's got a name. It's got a name. Someone will put it in the comments section. You get this release of something in your brain when you get a bit of a buzz on. I think that
it's endorphins.
The endorphins that come out. Yeah. I think the way fans feel when they put out a negative tweet and they get loads of interaction, loads of attention. I think people are kind of addicted to that feeling. And it's almost, but if things start to go well, maybe people won't listen to us. Maybe. So I think people are like, as soon as they see one little thing that could be a bad thing, right, I've got to jump on this and go mental. And I'm just, maybe that's what's going on. But mate, great call. Thanks for coming on the terrace and having your say, mate. Really appreciate it. Top man.
All right. Well, before I go, mate, big up to Mr. Hagar, because we had the same PE teacher back in the day. So.
Where did you go? You were.
I went to Norton.
Sweet, bro. Nice. How long ago were you there? Like, what age group are you?
I'm 34, so
you've been a year, but you'd have been in my brother's year, actually. My brother Mitchell. Yeah, you'd have been in his year, I think. Yeah, I was like a year above you. Yeah, so we were there at the same sort of time. Yeah, him. When I was there, it was Mr. Hagar, Mr. McPortland, Mr. McDonald, and Mr. Manning. Yeah. Those four, they were the teachers. That was serious set of PE teachers. That was.
It was. We won a few trophies under them. Maybe we need to get them in.
yeah, right. We did. Every year group was winning stuff. I listen, my guy. Appreciate you calling in, my friend, and we'll chat again soon. Cheers, bro.
All right.
All the best. All the best. Look at that. Norton boy, same school as me, top man. Phil's set up for hope for United fans. Now, Nav, that's a good point. It could be set up. This could be a setup. This could be all lip service. But what we've got it on record now. Well, you hold them to this account. If we don't spend the money, why? Where's it gone? I said this Arsenal was spending money this summer. They're looking to spend money. But I remember saying to Gooners back in January, well, the positive about you not spending is after you tried to get Vlahovic, it's there now is zero excuse for not spending in the summer. Like they can't pull the wool over your eyes without you at least doing something about it. That's the positive area of this for me. Just personally anyway. School friends. Terry as a banker over Ed Woodward. Listen, I could have run the club better than Ed Woodward did. I absolutely guarantee that. Do you know how I would have done it? I'd have brought in best in class in all their areas and then delegated that responsibility. It's the best way to lead. It's easy. Why De Jong? It's just a typical Man United signing. But it isn't though, is it? It's being led by Erik ten Hag, who wants him back, who, when he built that Ajax team that was so... Listen, that Ajax team were able to stay together because Ajax had the money to keep them all. They'd have been champions of Europe by now. If that young group had the last 3 to 4 years together and they hadn't all been sold and moved on, they'd have won the Champions League. He wants to recreate what he was doing there. And he's going to go out into the market and buy them. I'm not calling... This is not just like a Pogba signing. This is the new manager getting the star-studded player he needs to make his midfield work. Still very confident in Christian Eriksen. You know, he's looking for possession-based footballers. Listen, I'm very excited to see Donny van de Beek given another chance under him. Could be very, very different indeed. The philosophy is going to be different. Let's just wait and see. I think people are getting... I understand the negativity. I understand the PTSD. But we are doing this in a very different way to how we've done it in the past. And the fact that that's being ignored... It's a little disconcerting for me, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Barca are wetting themselves for the sale of Frenkie de Jong, knowing that Man United want to impress Ten Hag's first buy, but Ten Hag's pushing for it. It's very different. Terry, you don't need Frenkie de Jong. You need a proper CDM and a technical midfielder for the price of Frenkie de Jong. You can find 2 for the same price. And look, that's a fair point, Dwayne. What if we, like, my view is this, that's been my train of thought, like a powerhouse DM, like a Basuma, like a N'Golo Kante, someone who breaks up the play and does this. The second greatest Man United team in my lifetime and the second greatest Premier League team of all time had Michael Carrick as its kind of DM. And then we kind of went away from that as Paul Scholes got older and Paul Scholes became this sitting DM. We didn't have a powerhouse breaking up play. We had Paul Scholes dictating the play with Michael Carrick at the back, like in the midfield. No real speed, like as in blistering speed. They're both strong men, but you wouldn't call either a powerhouse. But look, we dominated. People will say, football's changed, football's changed. It really hasn't changed that much. We just see a team win the Champions League without powerhouses in midfield. Camavinga coming on was a nice touch. He gave them that extra steal. But when he came in, they weren't winning those games because Camavinga was crunching into tackles and was a force. It was his ability on the ball that was the difference. And his youthful exuberance. So there are more than one way to skin a cat. Look now. Look what Liverpool are doing right now. You're a Liverpool fan, it looks like. No, an Arsenal fan, sorry. Look what Liverpool are doing right now. Look at Liverpool and City are about to do. I was sitting in spaces. I was on my channel here on YouTube. I've been on Twitter for the past 3 to 4 years where people have said, the number 9 is dead. The number 9 is dead. It's all about the false 9 now. You get me? About the false 9. Suddenly the 2 best teams in the world, in my opinion, well, the 3, if you include Real Madrid, because they've already got one, are all now going to be using out-and-out 9s. Football is cyclical. There isn't one way of doing things. And I quite like the idea that we want to try and do something different to how other teams have maybe approached it. So, yeah, I'm not buying into it. I'm not buying into it. I trust Erik Ten Hag. I really, really do. I trust him. Terry talks biased nonsense pretty much in every entire video. See, that's not biased nonsense. It's called an opinion. My opinion on the Glazers, my opinion on Man United. Do you know how this is one of the most unbiased platforms out there? I share the link for all these live shows for you to call in and have your say. So you can say what you want. And I really wouldn't call myself biased. Everyone's biased to their own opinion. Like, that's a prerequisite of having an opinion. But, yeah, thank you for the comment anyway, my friend. Casemiro is an enforcer. Yeah. But, see, when people... I don't look at him as a powerhouse. I still think he's a very... It's his footballing ability that is so important about it for him, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I sometimes feel like when people say we need a proper CDM, I'm like, what do you mean? We need someone who's going to smash it. Like, you can break up play by being intelligent. And I've watched De Jong play in the Netherlands team, and he does it well. He does it well for me. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll see what happens. But Camavinga is a player I really rate. Yeah, Camavinga's class. He's absolutely class. What about Xhaka's future at Arsenal? He could be on his way, according to some reports. But we'll cover that later on down the line. You're definitely biased and you know it. It's funny. It's interesting that you say that. I've had a lot of messages from I get messages every day from rival fans saying the most unbiased United fan we've ever heard from. It's great to listen to a United fan speak so freely. It's not. I think Matthew, what you find bias, and this is what's strange. People call me biased when my opinion differs to theirs. That's not bias. That's an opinion. I don't change my tune based on who it best suits. So if I say Darwin Núñez is a brilliant striker when he's linked to United, I don't change my mind when he joins Liverpool. That's biased. I never do that. So yeah, but I can take the feedback. It's weird to be called biased for having an opinion. What I'd love you to do for me, if you can convince me that if you can stump me with an opinion on why I'm biased, I'll give you $5,000 cash now. I'll transfer it to your bank account. But you got to call in, Matthew, call in now. If you tell me why I'm biased, and I go, shit, you're right. £5,000 cash I'll transfer to your bank account live on air. Call in now, my friend, and have your say. Next on the show, we're going to speak to Mo's here. What are you saying, Mo?
Morning, Terry. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. What's your take on this, my friend?
Ridiculous. It's I've never seen a CEO in a pub with fans. I thought it was fake, but fair play to him. He's something that Ed Woodward will never have done. So he shows he's different from Ed Woodward, which is a blessing. As for the transfers and all that, he's starting to realize what CEO of Man United is. He's no more hiding behind Ed Woodward now. Now you're the main man. Now the pressure's on for you and your team, your new team of whoever they are, is to get the deals done. So let's see. You've come out with all this structure, and we're going in the right directions, and we've spent a lot of money, and we wasted a lot of money, and this and that. Well, you're in charge of the ship now. It's your ship. Let's see what you're gonna do. Let's see how you're gonna.
Yeah.
Let's see how you're gonna put the club back on its feet, because at the moment, I'm still patient, Terry, but I'm starting to get a bit, I'm starting to walk up and down and trying to get rid of the nerves and anxiety. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. It's getting a bit anything now. I'm something needs to land, Terry. Just a little bit of information, or here we go, or anything. Just get something through the door, but make sure it's the right transfer target. But I think we just need to learn how to be patient now going forward, Terry, where it's not about, every club has signed a player, we need to do that. I think now with Man United, I think they're doing it more differently now, and you're going to have to learn how to be patient. And you might not get what you want, Terry, this transfer window, and you're going to have to accept it. If he's talking about going in the right direction, and if that means I'm not going to spend £80 million on a player that might be a flop, or I'm not going to panic buy someone, and I'm going to do a Liverpool and wait for Virgil van Dijk and wait for Alisson, and if they're not available now, go back and get the right player, then they might do that. And I don't know, Terry.
Mo, listen, I hear where you're coming from. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. I really do. And listen, I am skeptical, as other people are. I just have a different approach where I'm gonna sit back and go, okay, this is how I treat people in life. It's like, I'm gonna do this different now. Okay, well, I'll sit back and I'll give you I'll give you the freedom, but also the rope, if that makes sense. Like, I'll give you the freedom to operate and work, but equally, like, there's the rope. Put the noose around your own neck. Like, get it done now, because I'll come. But then there's little more I can even do. I've already pulled my money. I've made a promise to myself. I won't put money back in until I see it being run well. And this is the thing.
Yeah,
I will buy shirts again, and I will buy merch again. I'll go back to games again if we're being run well. Because as much as I don't like how the Glazers have done things, the dividends, the debt, etc., if I can see we're being run and operating well, I'm happy to put my money into it. But I'm not going to throw good money after bad. I'm not going to throw my money at a project that I know is going to fail, that's going to hemorrhage money, and that doesn't respect the fans. That's just always been my take. But we'll see what they can get done, mate. I don't think it was PR. I think it was him. Listen, there was talk they were going to go to his house. I think one of the guys that was there yesterday said that we weren't ever going to go to his house. We were just going to take a picture near his street. But fair play for him, to him for coming out.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah, I think it was a good move from him. And I think
he shows...
Listen to the voice of the United fans. That they were being respectful to him as well. They were listening to him.
And also, it shows to me that he's different from... Ed Woodward would have never have done that in a million years. So it shows the man is different. He has different personalities. He's got a different way of thinking. And You know, I think we just need to give the man a chance. I know that he's been in the club at 10 years, but when you're the boss, you know, when you're an assistant and I'm working for the boss, and the boss goes, "This is the way it is," if you can't go over your boss's head, because that's your boss. You know, if the boss goes, "I want this to be done this way," even though you got power, Terry, there's not much you can do. Like if you're my boss, Terry, and you go, "No more, I want it done this way," I can advise you and say, "Terry, it's not this way," but end of the day, Terry, you're gonna have the final say.
No, mate, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Mo, great call, my friend.
Terry.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Speak to you again soon, bro. Thank you. Nav here with a super chat says that Terry, let's be honest, CEOs would not really discuss personal business outside around the public eye. That's why I'm calling BS. Yeah, I get you, but I think in these circumstances, it's a little bit different. Look, I know there's lots more of you backstage, Shrey, and a few others. I don't have the time to get any more of you ones. I'm very, very sorry today. I do apologize. Thank you, Nav, for becoming an Academy member of the Football Terrace. Back later today with more content for you. Me and Dom Hussam live at 6 p.m. for Straight Facts. Make sure you're tuning in. It's going to be a big, big show. Until next time, my friends, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all